we have already transformed the way the world operates. And now I believe we have a chance to do it all again. To be the great explorers of the next era.
So, welcome to the panel today about ESG and the important question in terms of how to move from aspiration to impact. My name is Axel Freyberg, Senior Partner with Kearney, and I'm the moderator of today's session here. I mean, sustainability, which I rather use as a word, is like the balancing between economics, environment, and social impact is a hot topic. And I think for the ICT industry, which makes about 3 to 5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions and about 7% of the energy usage, today I think it's a topic to discuss about. Also, circularity and waste becomes a big topic. About 55,000 tons of e-waste we're producing every year, and only 20% of this one is recycled. So there's a lot of ambitions and targets we've been set by the industry, including the telcos. And the question is like, how these targets actually turn into actions and how we achieve our goals actually going forward. So I have the pleasure to discuss that actually today with a panel of experts. Let me introduce them to you and then let's engage in the discussion. I have on my left Andrew Yake, the consultant and the European ICT sector lead of Carbon Trust. So he's supporting clients in the ICT industry to set up science-based targets and to develop carbonization strategies. Then we have Sindhu Sirasaga. She's the Senior Director around Solution at Intel. So she's developing open and virtualized intelligent rounds, not only to drive total cost of ownership, but also to drive sustainability, and we hear about that. We have Simay Anka, who is CEO and founder, multiple founder, and actually advising telcos on renewable energies and on technologies and on the clean energy market and how that is actually helps, as well as Han Jinju from ZTE is the managing director of the international marketing solution teams and dealing with all kinds of topics from 4G monetization to 5G monetization, and of course also how to make the networks more sustainable. As I said, my name is Axel Freyberg. I'm 25 years in the industry, consulting companies across the world, and sustainability is a passion which I've been driving. We're going to take the perspective of an operator, because you can take a lot of perspectives around it and focus probably more on the energy side than on the other aspects, because we had a lot of diversity discussions actually here on stage already over the last days. And touch on scope 1, scope 3, on circularity along the way. and open to also involve you along in the discussion. But let me start in opening the round. Andrew, I mean, you're dealing with ESG basically the whole time with operators and along, especially when we look at the environmental side. Greenhouse gas is a great measure as it covers the whole value chain and it actually drives change. But how do you define an ambition? How do you make that actually actionable for players in the industry?
Yeah, well, I think maybe I'll briefly just describe value chain emissions for the sake of the audience in case it's not clear. So Scope 1 emissions are the emissions that are associated with the direct energy consumption of vehicles or of equipment located on your sites. Scope 2 emissions are the indirect emissions that are emitted as a result of the energy or the heating or cooling that you purchase. And Scope 3 emissions is a much broader set of emissions occurring both upstream in your supply chain through the goods or services that you purchase, and downstream, for example, from the energy consumed by the devices that you sell. So when it comes to setting ambition from a network operator's perspective, I think the sector has been amongst the most ambitious globally in doing that. And when it comes to setting that ambition, there's a huge amount that the industry can learn from in terms of the peers that have been there before and what has been done before them. And so I think when it comes to setting targets and understanding what can be done by your organization to progress on that stage, it doesn't have to be a means of inventing your strategy from scratch. There's a huge amount of peer-to-peer collaboration that can take place to kind of get your head start on that strategy. The GSMA, for example, is a great forum for promoting discussion in that area. We actually co-developed a guide for achieving climate targets on behalf of the GSMA and to help mobile network operators identify some of the strategies that exist. Other papers, for example, ESG metrics for mobile is another fantastic paper that has been published to really accelerate the industry forward. So really, what I would say is there's no need to reinvent the wheel and really focus on collaborating with your peers.
Yeah. So one point you pointed out is the Scope 2, so the energy actually used by the network, and we see a lot about the discussion in terms of how to use that energy. Let's see, so it's a major component of the carbon footprint. So how do operators deal with that? How do they tackle this? I mean, you're dealing with that on a day-to-day basis.
Sure, there are several ways, but one of the most important thing is, of course, integrating the renewable energy systems as their main, just like power generation resource. But, just like we are seeing the clean energy transition, a renewable energy integration is not enough today. So like we're just seeing, just the support of the digital tools, just when they track and optimize their, just resources, but also probably for telecom industry, in many industries, its most important thing is having your power as stable and sustainable. So integration of the energy storage systems, battery storage systems is one of the most important thing. So and also efficient. So like there are so many technologies in that field, finding the right energy storage technology and support their system. And infrastructure is also very important. So like how they can, just like improve the conditions, and also, just make sure they're using their energy efficiently. So there are just so many ways to do the energy efficiency for their infrastructure. So like and store and make sure they're also following, just like potential collaboration opportunities with their stakeholders. So sustainability is not a future direction for one stakeholder to reach. It requires a lot of collaboration. So that's why it's important to increase the awareness and collaborate so we're eligible for so many resources together. And, just like even we're talking about the electric vehicles today, just like electrifying the transportation, even electrifying the transportation of our supply chain is part of this transition. But if we don't have the renewable energy resources, so power itself needs to be generated from the renewable energy resources, and just like we are using the electrified transportation solutions. So we are seeing the overall transition with all the collaboration.
Sinhu, you're involved in like new software development, and Open RAN or RAN-driven solutions. How does it how can MNOs reduce the energy consumption actually using that?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a great pleasure to be with you all, and thank you, Alex, for moderating. So yes, the open virtualized RAN is instrumental in really controlling your energy and getting energy efficiency, right? So the first thing is it's software defined, which means it's running on general purpose processor cores, and these processor cores can be used for the same processor cores can be used for running like infrequent OEM services types of applications when they're not loaded at night, not running the traffic processing. So that's one. So you're basically reducing the amount of equipment that you're putting out there itself, right? So that is point number one. Then these general purpose processors have a lot of power management knobs that we have gained expertise and experience implementing them from our PC space. I work for Intel, so PC has been a big thing for us for decades now. The server space and all that technology, it's the same processor. So all that technology is here, and it can be applied in the RAN. In the RAN, we have this advantage that traffic is varying greatly throughout the day. So you can use what we call P states, which is frequency variation of the servers. Even at a single core level, you can vary them. And that will allow you to really put cores to, decommission cores basically on the fly. You can do that at a 1 second basis, which means, it also applies to the case where the RAN traffic is not just varying night and day type of thing, it's varying a lot during the day as well. So that's one thing. Then we have microsecond level variations possible with something called C states, and that will give you even more benefit. As a few examples. In our Intel booth, we're showing the infrastructure power manager. It is showing up to 40% power savings in a 5G core running UPF. It can do the same thing for the CU transport, right? We are also showing an AI-assisted P-states-based demo for the DU servers, showing 16% energy efficiency on a traffic model that AT&T provided us. In the SKT booth, SK Telecom's booth, they're showing AI-assisted C-states-based power management, and that is showing 25% savings in the DU servers. So we have a lot of opportunity to save power if you use general-purpose processors and software-defined RAN.
So yeah, interesting that technology can be used in order to match more the supply of the network to the demand and actually switch things off when they're not required. Han, I mean, as operators really optimizing networks today, and the main performance dimension is always performance. You have this umlaut network tests and so on. It's like, and everybody's optimizing those because you want to have the best network. But now we're actually switching off parts of it. So can we still be the best network, and how does operators solve that mix?
In fact, there are some way into doing that. Definitely in this industry, everybody should be concentrated a lot for that. So from the first point of view, it should be end-to-end, because currently the MNO's network from the RAN to transmission to the core, then it's everywhere. So we use our advanced technology. It's also including the inter-chipset inside, and also some the power amplifier architecture redesign. So previously, when it is with the low traffic, then its power is still on. So now we redesign the power amplifier with the power matrix. So it's like every small power, then it's a switch on and switch off.
Yep.
Then when it is no such kind of traffic, it's just the several of the power on, then others no need. So only this kind of the hardware innovation for every site, then you can reduce some, like that $700 power consumption every year. Then not only for the hardware, even though for some software optimization that currently the MNO use the AI inside of their network, not only for the equipment, also even for this network. So suppose for some traffic currently at night, no such kind of traffic, definitely the system will shut down some like symbol, the carrier, then no need some power consumption. Then when somebody come inside, then at maybe early morning, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, some traffic happening, then it's wake up automatically without the like that traffic interference. So that means currently the MNO can provide more and more services to the end user with more throughput, but with less power consumption, with advanced technology inside. Everybody should contribute a lot for that.
So we see AI actually at work. So we heard a lot about AI, but it seems so that in the network side it's really helping in order to reduce the energy consumption. Let's go to another topic, because we talked a lot about energy now, but like as Simmer said, like the renewable energy part, if you have that, then you reduce your scope 2 already quite a lot, and the big chunk of the greenhouse gas number is scope 3. So often like 70 or 5, or actually depending on whether you have renewable energy, up to 90% of this one. So they're difficult to capture, that even more difficult to remove. So how do you do that, Andrew?
I don't think everyone has all the answers yet, to be quite honest. But the inconsistency. First of all, I think the measurement of scope 3 is a well documented and known issue in the industry. We've been part of a working group with the GSMA to try and drive some more consistency across how it's actually measured in mobile network operators. And as an exercise to kind of demonstrate the severity of the problem, we ran a series of studies looking at using the same data, but a number of different methodologies currently being used by network operators to calculate their scope 3 emissions. And in the most extreme examples, we saw a difference of a factor of 10 actually in the calculation, purely due to the methodology. So clearly there's an issue with the consistency. And the scope 3 guidance that we developed is an effort to improve that. Now, when it comes to reductions, that's also another story and also some unanswered questions. But sometimes when we're assessing decarbonisation levers that organisations need to implement to reduce their emissions, we compare them on a sort of cost versus complexity axis, and almost always the most complicated, or those that are in the top right quadrant, so the most complicated and the most costly, are the scope 3 reduction initiatives. Yeah. And really what it points to is the need to collaborate with outside of your organization and engage outside of your organization if you're going to reduce those emissions. It really points to the MNOs needing to collaborate with the ZTEs, with the Intels, to help drive a kind of joint sense or joint cost of ownership of these initiatives, and to really kind of show that they're willing to invest in these technologies to drive the value chain to decarbonize.
Yeah. I mean, a major part is actually the upstream scope 3, which is actually coming from the suppliers.
Yeah.
And I know like the equipment suppliers have put a lot of energy in terms of reducing energy. So the scope 2 of the operators, but what is ZTE doing to reduce the scope 3, their upstream stream? So what you're actually having in your operations, how you approach that?
I can give you 2 examples. The first one is for zero carbon emission site design. So for the site, definitely you need a power supply. The one way you have the power line to give the power. The second one you use the green power, like the solar, the wind, So we together with the Telefonica in Germany, we designed one site. It's totally zero carbon emission. How can we do that? With a solar panel, generate power, then with the power storage there. But maybe you will ask, at winter, no such kind of sunshine, how can we solve this problem? We use a kind of liquid methanol. So this methanol just generates the water and the power. Previously, you use the petrol, you use the diesel, it will generate carbon. But with this methanol replacement, it's totally green site for that.
Yeah.
So this is the first case. The second one is for in China, we cooperation with the China Mobile. Then also this case we get GSMA Foundry 2023. So what is that? This is a totally 5G connection into the industry. Then definitely industry also need to save the power consumption. For the agriculture, this industry, what is that? With a 5G connection everywhere, this is a smart irrigation system and for the 12,000 acres. Then for this one, it can improve this depleted soil fertile again. Then also with the unmanned remote control and the drone there to improve the operation system and the sustainable. So after this case, the water supply can reduce around 40%. So this case tell us for no matter for the vendor, for the operator itself, or even though for the industry, so everybody can have some solutions to reduce the power to have these circumstances sustainable.
But are you doing something within ZTE to reduce your own footprint?
Of course. So for our own selves, for our equipment, like that CPE, until now for the CPE, our delivery is around 560 million pieces. It is number one in the global. Then currently we find out with the recycling material to replace the traditional material, it can have the same performance, but with the green material for that. So this is just one case. The others is for ourselves, like our buildings. So we use the solar, we use the green energy to supply our own selves, like that. Basically, the running degrees for that. So ourselves, we also try our best.
Okay. So, like Open RAN is actually, given that it's virtualized and you might not exchange the equipment, is that a way to reduce the Scope 3?
Yes, certainly. So I talked earlier about reducing the equipment you deploy. You can actually remove power-hungry equipment, like 2G equipment is out there. There are many areas in the world where operators cannot discontinue that. So Samsung, because it was virtualized, right, on their virtualized RAN, they had a 4G, 5G, they added 2G to that. So on the same servers, no more equipment, throughout your 2G equipment. So that's a big power savings as well. And then it's about evolve without overhaul. So what you have in a software-based environment running on general purpose cores is you can use cores for anything you want to. So as you keep evolving features, 3GPP keeps coming up with new features, networks keep changing, and then networks, so you need to keep adding features. All that can be done on the same server. Just you can keep the cores turned off when you're not using them and use them when you need to. And then, of course, it's also about the silicon itself. Silicon is the foundation for all networks. And we take a lot of effort in innovation itself. So, for instance, every process node, as the technology evolves, you get performance per watt advantage. That is just more throughput, lower power, right? So Intel is on a roadmap right now with 5 nodes in 4 years. And that's why we've been able to generate newer and newer processors. And we do another thing, which is keep software compatibility. So as you're expanding your networks, instead of deploying older, more power-hungry equipment, you can go on to the next one. And you can do it very easily because software is very portable. Both Ericsson and Samsung announced the first call on Granite Rapid D, which we just announced at Mobile World Congress, we had given them an early version a few months ago, and they were able to migrate it that quickly, right? So there are many things, and even within the silicon itself, there has to be ongoing innovation. For instance, I talked about the P states, C states, power management, but we also spend investment. For instance, we have something called Indigo Tin, which is a thermal material that sits on top of the package that cools the device so that you don't have to spend energy cooling the server, as much energy cooling the server. And then we have voltage regulation. Voltage regulation mostly is outside the die, it's on the board. Getting it closer to the die, that can save energy. So now we have inductor-based voltage regulator on die, right? So everything helps, and when you're deploying thousands of this, it all makes a big difference. It all adds up. Yeah.
Simi, you talked about earlier about batteries and photosite, and Han also talked about it. Is it actually paying off to install that at a site yourself in like thousands of sites, rather than actually taking this off the grid?
That's actually a very good question to understand, the importance. Well, we're talking about the sustainable energy goals and, how we'll reach. We all have ambitious goals, but we need to be realistic. Probably financial aspect is one of the challenge that we're having. Is it really paying off? Well, there is an initial cost of the battery storage solutions, but there is an initial cost for all, just like renewable energy generation. However, there are long-term and short-term benefits. Will make it really cost-efficient. So first of all, they're also different in the emerging markets and developed markets. Although we have more, just access to PPAs and additional incentives to integrate energy storage solutions in these systems, but there are also other opportunities for emerging markets, including the community engagement. Just like there are ways to collaborate in renewable energy resources, integrating the energy storage. We need to make this the renewable energy power generation more sustainable. And when we consider the cost, today is still very cost efficient because we are making the power sustainable and stable, which is very important, especially for this industry. And just like and the paying off with using the support of the community engagement, government incentives, and additional resources. There are different funding opportunities that we need to discover. And just like we're in long term and short term, when we see the energy efficiency goal, integrating energy efficiency goals, we are seeing more cost-efficient systems that will help us to reach these sustainability goals. It's important to integrate. It's really worth it and paying off, but in different timelines for every company and every country.
Yeah. We have a few minutes left. Any questions from the audience? I mean, I don't know whether there's any operator around listening to it, because we don't have any on stage. Any reflections or questions? I don't see a hand. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Sorry, my name's Ian Ginn from IFG Consulting. What are the ESG metrics? Because it's sort of abroad, isn't it? 24 in total, but energy is being talked about throughout. What about the others?
You want to take that, or Andrew, or?
Yeah, I mean, happy to take a crack at that, of course. Yeah, it's very broad and a lot to cover in 30 minutes. I think if you look at the CSRD, for example, being implemented covers all the gamut of ESG, and that's broken down into 5 key areas of the environment, social, and then governance, which we really needed, I think, in terms of creating a structure for organizations to be measured on what they're actually reporting on and actually doing when it comes to all aspects of ESG. All are critical, and I mean, especially when it comes to environment, all are interlinked. And you don't get the implementation of these initiatives without the governance practices in place, and you don't get a fair transition without the social aspects as well. So all are absolutely critical and all are interlinked. I suppose it's a matter of of having a kind of global vision for achieving something and what your industry or your company itself can achieve within its own remit of focus.
Any other question? Otherwise, I mean, let's close off. I mean, we have 2 minutes left, so on this round. So we talked a lot about technology solutions in terms of how to achieve that, but like an ESG is already on the top of the agenda on the CXO level, but indeed you need to take the organization along. Is there anything which you would give along to the audience and say like how to like engage the organization on this? Like what's the line of argument you give to them to say like, well, let's try it?
Yeah, I can crack it. Okay. So yes, I think, see, operators are running networks with 7 nines resiliency and things like that. So they have their headaches to add new features and stuff. So I think it's a little bit of an onus on all of us in the ecosystem to actually work with the operators, show them how it works, figure out ways together to mitigate the risks of anything bad happening. And that's the part that the operations people are really interested in knowing, right? Whether it's adding AI or you're dynamically managing power or any of the other innovations we bring in. So I think there is some work we need to do as well as, you know, suppliers in the supply chain to work with operators on this stuff. So.
Anybody else? Or
Well, very shortly, we need to increase the awareness by training, by spreading the word out, because, you know, like there are so many things to do, but we can do all together. Yeah.
And Andrew?
So I think we need the cooperation. So everybody should be, you know, together. Then with our, you know, thinking with the new technology inside to help this world more sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to quickly jump in as well. I think, you know, what we've seen as being the most effective strategy is to create a sense of ownership within the business and understanding the complexities and understanding the difficulties that some business units or divisions might have in contributing towards their environmental or social or governance goals, and developing targets and aspirations with that kind of bottom-up perspective in mind, creating that ownership and creating the drive amongst the organization. It's okay.
Good. Thank you very much for the discussion. I think we got a broad view in terms of what's possible. Yes, only on the mostly on the environmental side, as we discussed the social side very much on the stage before. But I think it's a broad topic and it's an important topic. So thank you for being here and happy for the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.